Whispering. Whispering. Quiet. Shh. Whispering. Whispering. Quiet.
What's up guys, Chick with Tan Tactical. Coming to another special video today. I want to talk to you about something a little bit different than we typically do on the channel. Today I actually want to make sort of like an exposition video, a knowledge dump on you, if you will, about everything that you need to know regarding 22 suppressors, commonly known as rimfire suppressors. Recently I put a poll out on the internet and a lot of you guys commented saying that you wanted to see more information about suppressors and possibly suppressor reviews. We started that process sort of backwards with shotgun suppressors a few weeks ago. Now we are going ahead and moving on with rimfire suppressors. So what is a rimfire suppressor? I think this video is going to end up being kind of long, so I'll probably put chapters down below, so just look somewhere down there, find exactly what information you might be looking for. I just started getting suppressors back in 2020, back during all the craziness with COVID and all that. Probably like some of you had some extra money on my hands thanks to the stimulus checks, so I started getting suppressors. Started with a Rugged Obsidian 45, quickly got the Sparrow 22 from Silencer Co, like you see here. I eventually moved on to getting a whole bunch of different suppressors and really starting to dive into it. I'm making this video because I remember early on when I first got into suppressors, I had a lot of questions. You know, I really didn't know anything like what to expect, thread patterns and fixed barrel spacers and pistons, all that stuff. I wanted to make this video to kind of help someone like you, if you're like me at that time and didn't really know anything about suppressors and you want to get into it. This is going to be the video for you. It might be kind of long, it might be kind of boring, but in honor of the late Paul Harrell, I think this is probably the best format to do it in. And like I said, I will put little chapters down below, so if you already know some of this stuff, you can go down below, click the little timestamps, find exactly what information you might need to know. There's a spot on my lens here. I don't like it's bothering me. Yeah, okay, that's better. Now, full disclosure, I am not what you might call a professional at all. Like, there's a lot I don't know about different brands and different types of suppressors. I'm basically telling you the information I know, which is kind of limited because suppressors are kind of expensive and they take a while, or rather they used to take a while to get a hold of. So take this for what you will, maybe not with a grain of salt, but maybe with a few grains of salt. But hopefully you'll come away from this and have some sort of knowledge about rimfire suppressors. If you like this video, we'll continue with pistol suppressors, rifle suppressors, and how to get a suppressor, if it's okay in your state, of course. YouTube, please, manual reviewer, this is just an informational video. I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything or buy anything. I'm definitely not telling you to make anything because, well, that's kind of illegal. It's very illegal. This is just literally an information dump for all of you because you asked for it. And this is it. Should I say, let's see how she does? Let's see how she does. You know, a lot of times we see in movies and stuff, suppressors and like all those action movies and Mission Impossible movies, you hear like pew, 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 all that stuff, and it's kind of ridiculous. They're super quiet in the movies, but they're not really that quiet in real life, which we'll cover in our pistol caliber video in the future. But 22 cans are actually very, very quiet. In fact, like, I've still got a few rounds in the chamber here. First rounds always have a pop, by the way. It's much quieter. That's a universal thing with suppressors. Usually the first round, sometimes even 2 rounds, has a little bit of a loud pop. But as you can tell, rimfire suppressors are extremely quiet. Very much like movie quiet. It's not going to be completely silent like they do in the movies. Like if I were to do this in a public place, I have no doubt that people would actually hear it and get startled and alerted. So it's not exactly that quiet still like the movies, but it's still pretty dang quiet. And that's why it may be one of the best suppressors to start off with, because it gives you that thrill you know, that joy being like movie quiet, but not breaking the bank either. 22 suppressors are actually some of the cheaper suppressors you can get. I misspoke earlier. This is the rugged Mustang 22 suppressor, not the Silencer Co. Sparrow. I've got that on the long gun that you saw in the intro. We'll get to that in a second. As far as 22 suppressors go, they're all very similar. Usually you're going to see an aluminum housed body with steel baffles inside. This is a stack of baffles. Now I could take these apart, but you see how they're all lined up nicely there? I don't really want to take them apart because I want to keep them aligned with that little gap up there, all lined up across. That helps the air and suppressor and all that work better. These are all individual baffles here. It's a little dirty. It's not as dirty as it could be. I haven't gotten a chance to shoot this one quite as much, but you'll see it's quite dirty, and that's the thing about 22 suppressors. It gets a lot of this grime and carbon buildup much faster than other suppressors from other calibers. Sometimes instead of like a stack of individual baffles you can take apart, it's like a tube of just like zigzag patterns. There's a bunch of different designs out there. There's even like 3D print suppressors too that are supposed to be better. They're just, in my opinion, I think a little bit more complex. I don't know if they're really going to be much quieter, but they're kind of a trendy thing right now. With 22 suppressors, most of the time you're going to see a thread pattern here of 1/2 by 28. Not always, but most of the time. I'm sure if you want to, you could probably find other thread patterns out there that suit your needs if you're like in Europe or something. By the way, did you know in a lot of European countries, it's way more flexible and relaxed to get suppressors than it is here in America? Now you know. I can't remember what those countries are. It's probably like the Netherlands or something, but yeah, apparently over there where it's more regulated to get a gun, it's actually less regulated to get a suppressor. You can get some weird stuff, but typically 22 is going to be 1/2 by 28. Of course, you will need a thread barrel. This is a Taurus TX22. A lot of times you'll actually see the little threads actually be a part of the barrel and not just like a little adapter piece like they have here. In fact, Taurus actually came out with a newer version of the TX22 that actually has the threads kind of built into it, and it's not a separate piece because it being a separate piece causes it to potentially loosen up. And one thing you don't want to happen with your suppressor, regardless of caliber, is you don't want it to loosen up and start rattling around on there. It's wobbling just a little bit there. Now you can really see it. See how it wobbles? As you are shooting, if it starts getting loosening up, it's going to start wobbling on here. When it wobbles, you could have potentially a baffle strike. And that goes for any kind of suppressor, not just 22 suppressors. Everything's got to be lined up perfectly. Everything's got to be nice and straight and perfect, or else your bullet could hit the baffles inside and it could cause damage, and you'll have to send your suppressor off to get repaired if they even warranty that for the particular model that you buy. So keep that in mind. Be careful. Make sure your thing's on there good. I'm not twisting here, YouTube. I'm just demonstrating. Make sure it's on there good. And you shouldn't have any problems with that. I've only had one thing happen, and that was an end cap strike where the bullet actually hit the end cap. It was a 9mm suppressor. It didn't hit the baffles, thankfully, but it did hit the end cap, and that was because I was using a cheap AIM Surplus. I'll go ahead and call them out. An AIM Surplus thread barrel for Glocks. 9mm. If you are not using OEM barrel, you better make dang sure that it is a good, properly well vetted barrel, because if the threads are off a little bit, you're going to have a baffle strike, and that's going to suck. With 22, it may not do much damage. It may actually just be fine. I don't know, because again, I haven't had it happen, but a good proper barrel that's well vetted and precisely made will prevent you from having baffle or end cap strikes. The point I'm trying to make is 22 suppressors are extremely cheap, and it's a great entry-level suppressor to kind of get into it and realize just how much fun you can really have with them. They are truly the most movie quiet suppressors you can get, at least without a lot of finagling and, you know, tinkering. It's pretty much out of the box going to be as movie quiet-ish as it can get. But now let's talk a little bit more about ammo. Typically ammo, there's a bunch of different 22 out there. I'm using 22 long rifle, but these suppressors typically will work with 22 short. They'll work with a bunch of different 22 caliber types. You just really need to check and see what exactly you're buying and what is it rated for. A lot of times these suppressor companies will tell you you can shoot 22 long rifle, you can shoot 22 shorts, something, this and that. But one thing I'll go and tell you right now you can't shoot is you cannot shoot 223 or 5.56. Yes, those two calibers are like the same size as 22. There's way too much pressure coming off those rounds to the barrel that it will destroy your 22 suppressor. So don't make that mistake. Thankfully, I've not made that mistake. Don't do it. On the alternative, you could shoot a can that's rated 223 or 556. You can shoot 22 out of those. You know, if you have a rifle can, you could shoot 22 out of one of those. So that's okay. You just can't shoot the smaller, lighter, and less durable 22 can. You can't shoot high-powered rounds through it. Now, one thing you could do is you could take a larger caliber can and shoot 22 through it. So I've got this Rugged Obsidian 9mm can. Again, much bigger than the 22 can, much heavier. So now, it's a lot more, less, whoop, shit. So now, it's a lot less weight, and I guess it's a little bit more in line with the 22 suppressor as well. Well, I'm not hitting worth a damn. Okay, I see it now. My shot placement sucks with this. Now you'll notice I had a little bit more difficulty actually making those shots. And the reason why, if you look closely here, this is what it kind of looks like when you're running a suppressor that's rather large. See, if you look back there, see how much the can comes up and covers the front sight? If you look here, it makes it a little bit more difficult. You can still use your sights, but well, as you saw, it made it a little bit hard to aim, even though it's just covering up a little bit. Now, can you get used to it? Yeah, obviously you can. I happen to also notice that it actually changed my point of impact significantly. Of course, my 22 is a little bit louder when you don't suppress it. What I can tell you is the 22 with the 22 can is a lot more quiet than with the 9mm can. And it makes sense, right? Bigger hole allows more air, more sound to escape. Whereas with the 22 can, smaller hole, less air is going to be able to escape. That's something to consider. What's your budget like as far as buying suppressors go? Are you looking to just buy like maybe one can? Suppressor, can suppressor. It's a different term that people use. Because if you're looking at just getting one suppressor, you may want to get just a pistol caliber suppressor, like this 9mm can. Or better yet, you could go with a 45 caliber can. If this was a 45 can, I could shoot 45, 40, 9mm, 22, and a lot of other stuff that's smaller than 45. Are you looking to buy just one can for 22 for that dedicated, quiet shooting experience? Or are you wanting to have just one can to do it all? You know, like a jack of all trades. This 9mm can has a bigger hole, so it's not going to be as quiet as it would be for a 22 dedicated can like this. That's a decision that only you can make. I started with a 45 can, but quickly realized I enjoyed shooting all kinds of stuff suppressed, and I got the Sparrow 22 right after that. All right, so I've got the Tippmann arms. Yes, Tippmann, like the paintball company. They made a 22 long rifle pistol, AR pistol like this. So the TX22 has a barrel length of 4.1 inches, the handgun. This has a barrel length of just about 7 inches. And much like how I'm sure you guys have heard, those 3 inches make all the difference. You have to run subsonic ammo if you truly want to be quiet, like we did in the intro. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So the first 4 or 5 rounds in this, again, this is the Sparrow 22 up top here. The first 4 or 5 rounds is going to be regular range ammo. That stuff you saw back there, it's like 1,200 feet per second. After that, there's an uncertain amount of rounds that are going to be all the subsonic that was still left in the mag. Hopefully you can hear the difference. See if I can. Hear that crack? Now it should be subsonic. Maybe y'all could hear the difference, maybe you couldn't, but I could hear the difference. There is a crack, a sonic boom crack that happens with regular ammo. That crack is absent though when you're using subsonic. Again, it's just all about velocity. Around like 950 or something like that, give or take, depending on the temperature and the weather conditions. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's like a sonic boom crack that goes down range. I can hear echo like pew, 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 pew. But now we have Subsonic rounds. Now it's up on me. As you can see, 22 is very finicky. Hopefully it works now. So for the most part, pretty quiet. Again, I don't know if you can tell the difference, but with the Subsonic, you're guaranteed to get that movie quiet sound that you often hear out of your 22. And as you saw, sometimes 22 can just be a problem, and that's mainly because 22 is a dirty round, and it causes a lot of carbon buildup really fast. As you saw here, I had to oil it twice since I'm out here. It's just the nature of the beast with 22. That being said, I like it. It's a lot of fun. The suppressors as well as the ammo is relatively inexpensive compared to the larger calibers. It's just a great fun way to get out here. You could put this on a varmint rifle gun if you wanted to and go out hunting squirrels and stuff without even having to use any ear pro. If you haven't noticed, besides when I was shooting the regular rounds through this, other than that, I wasn't wearing ear pro. This again was a 7-inch barrel, so keep that in mind. If you go with something like with a longer barrel, like a 16-inch AR or something, you're going to really notice that difference between the regular range ammo at 1200 feet per second versus the subsonic rounds. It didn't really play as big of a role here. I could tell the difference here, but you probably couldn't tell just through the microphone, the camera. It was a difference, but not a huge difference. The longer that barrel length is, the louder those regular range rounds are going to sound. Now, some people may be disappointed by that and think, oh, well, what's the point of even getting suppressor? Suppressors, aka silencers, their job is to mitigate the sound of the explosion happening inside here that rings out the end of the barrel. It doesn't take away the crack of the sonic boom of breaking the sound barrier. That's really why you want to use subsonic rounds if you have longer barrel firearms. You can get away with the pistol at 4 or 5 inches. You can, as you saw, kind of get away with it sometimes with a 7-inch barrel like this. But anything longer than that, you'll probably notice the crack a whole lot more. And just because I haven't done it yet, I'll go ahead and let you hear the difference between a subsonic round going through this AR pistol without a suppressor and then with a suppressor.
Whispering.
Anyways, that's everything I know. There's more knowledge out there for sure. There's guys with more experience than I have that can probably impart more wisdom to you, but that's everything I know regarding rimfire suppressors. Hopefully you found this video enjoyable. I know it's a little bit different for the channel. It's a little bit more of me talking to you and imparting my experience that I've had with this stuff, and that's really what it's supposed to be for, just to kind of inform you guys and bring to the table what I know, and maybe you guys can actually give me some tips and tricks as well about stuff that maybe I don't know regarding rimfire suppressors. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just a dude out here in the woods in Tennessee shooting guns and just having fun. Guys, that's going to wrap it up there. Remember, if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. What do you think about rimfire suppressors like these? I'd love to hear from you. We will see you next time. I'm just a dude out here in the woods in Tennessee, shooting guns and having terrible lighting conditions.